Welcome all to our financial wellness podcast, From Roots to Fruits, where we nurture our roots to grow more delicious fruits. I'm your host, Arlyne. Let's get started. Okay, gave it a minute. This is a different format that we're hosting this workshop today on YouTube, so it's accessible for anyone to just jump on and watch. My name is Arlyne Chinyanganya, founder of Roots to Fruits, and Roots to Fruits is all about financial wellness, where we support individuals and business owners to manage their finances. Really good to have you on. So today we're going to be talking about, basically it's April and spring as well. So let's discuss everything that's been happening right now. The economy has changed completely since we wrote the spec for this workshop about a month ago. The idea was to talk about the spring financial statement and to discuss the changes that were coming with that. But now a lot more changes have come about because of the US tariffs that were announced, taken away, but we still have a 10% tariff in the UK that people would have to pay to import goods into the USA. So there's that, and Chinese, the China tariffs as well. That is going to impact us indirectly because we import quite a lot from America, and yes, the prices are going to go up, and that's going to affect us too. So the economy is all over the place, and I was a little bit shook, I have to be honest. Last week, we redid the workshop for today in terms of what to cover. And the first thing is just about financial wellness, exactly what that means for me as well, because I had to sit down and think, how am I going to manage in the next few months because of the uncertainty that has come about? And financial wellness, I'll just remind everyone, it's all about having some sense of tools or control within what you can control, essentially putting in the tools in place to be able to manage through uncertainties. So we don't know what's going to happen in the future, and maybe you could put in some tools and it's completely wiped out, like people's pensions right now. It's not looking really good. However, at least if you start by putting in those tools, start by just reviewing everything, then you're better equipped to manage uncertainties. So that's where we're going to start, really. And yeah, I really hope that you are feeling okay. I really hope that you have kind of given yourself the time to fully comprehend what is going on right now, fully comprehend how you're going to manage as well. If you live with other people, if you manage your finances with a partner or family members, then right now is the best time to just sit down and try to get a temperature check in terms of how are they feeling. Do they think that you've got everything in place to manage right now? Do you need to sit down and set a money date to just kind of talk about the things that you could do for the future? I think it's a good time to just rally together in your own tribes, in your own community as well. So that's the first place I'll start. And then you are obviously on this workshop, therefore you are looking to get some tools that I will discuss in a minute. So this is going to be just an hour, and in terms of like how to structure it, I put down kind of 7 key things to just help spring clean our budget. So the first place we'll start is by revisiting kind of the goals that we set at the start of the year, so that you can just have a quarterly check-in, perfect time. Right now it's spring. If it feels like, okay, it's the time to refresh. I don't know if you've done a spring clean as well in your household. It's the perfect time to do it. Throw away all those winter things, or just kind of put them away, sell them if you have to as well. And also, let's look at the goals that we set in January. And yeah, I did this exercise as well because I thought, practice what you preach. There are some ambitious goals that I'd written down. And now it's looking like, okay, I may need to revise those goals. I may need to push them back to be a little bit realistic. So essentially, we want to kind of use the acronym. You might have come across it already, as specific. So you want to be clear about what you want to achieve when you're setting a goal. You'd like it to be measurable as well. So we need to be able to track the progress. So it has to be measurable too. So we want to make sure that it's also achievable. So you've set a goal that is challenging, yes, but it needs to be realistic. So, for example, my goals in January that I set for the year, I expected by summertime earning £10,000 per month. This was not achievable. I can say right now it hasn't happened. And this is because a lot of things weren't set in place in terms of the revenue streams. A lot of things were still pending, making sure that we've got kind of the product available for people to be able to download on a mass scale. And we had just launched the From Roots to Fruits From Roots to Fruits podcast. So that meant that, okay, yes, I would like to earn £10,000 per month by June, but now I need to revise that. It needs to be achievable. And we have put some things in place, but we just need to make sure that we can actually achieve our goals. Otherwise, it has the opposite effect, and then it could essentially demotivate you. So yeah, that's just one I wanted to share with you. Is I really wanted to be open in this workshop today about my situation too. So you're going to hear a lot of that today. And you also need to make sure that your goals are relevant. So do they align with where you are right now? Do they align with kind of your current career situation, and also the household? I keep going back to that. If you live with other people, not like a house share, that's separate, but if you're in a house and you live with your family, and maybe one person's goals are this and the other person it's actually completely different, then you need to make sure that it's completely aligned. And always put a time stamp on it. The amount of coaching sessions that I've hosted, and a lot of people will say all their dreams, but they're not specific about when do they want to achieve it. So kind of hold yourself accountable and put a time stamp on it. So I put a couple of examples on the table on the right. And yeah, I'll just kind of leave you to screenshot this if you've got the capacity to do that, or if you have a pen and a paper to just, or if you like writing in your notes app or you're on your laptop, wherever that is, let's just have a second to write down our goals at this stage. I hope you've got access to the goals that you set at the start of the year. That's also a great exercise to just kind of find that book, that booklet that you're writing all your goals at the start of the year, just so we can start to have a look at, have we achieved some things? If yes, let's celebrate. If not, can we revise them? Is there what are we going to do? What's the strategy to achieving some of them? So yeah, I'm just going to leave this here whilst I talk through kind of like your long-term goals too. So short term, ideally it's within the next 12 months. And yeah, so now we're talking until the end of 2025 through to 2026. So I've actually added the second one here is mine. Well, actually all of these are mine. So I would love to pay off. I've accumulated some debt because of running a business and running, events and all sorts of things, I just had to put them on my credit cards, and also just paying off a loan from the car lease that we had too. So my goal is to be debt free in 2025, because I'd achieved this in 2023, and then it started to add up whilst running the business. So I'd like to just kind of clear that this year. And then the second one is to save up for a really nice, luxurious holiday by 2026. So I would like it to be £2,000. So that's my short term. And then long term, hopefully to buy a property. And I've researched properties in the area that I would like as well, something where we've got a garden, that sort of thing. And it will cost £1 million. So that's quite significantly higher than where I am currently right now with the property that we own. So yeah, that is a really big target for the long term. Long term meaning after 12 months. You've got some homework now, something for you to go away and kind of add to. And now we're going to talk about the link between your goals and creating a budget for it. I've stopped sharing my screen, by the way, purposefully, just so I can speak to you guys about kind of the next subject, which is a budget and why it's important. Again, everything that's been happening in the past few weeks has really stopped me in my tracks. I've been all about budgets, Risk to Fruits. We've got budget templates and budget planners as well that we've offered you guys. I use it as well. I've always used a budget throughout my career and as a young adult. And right now, though, is when I really sat down and I thought, I need to just kind of revisit how we are going to do this, especially if we need to aggressively save more, because we just don't know what's going to happen. Trade wars usually lead to kind of more conflict, essentially. And just looking at the people that are involved, I'm actually quite glad that the UK government are really measured in the way that their approach essentially with this whole thing. However, I just don't think, from what I've seen and heard, that they're taking kind of the hard stance in terms of getting, their citizens prepared for what could happen, especially now with China and the USA being in a trade war, and that could easily escalate, but we're hoping it doesn't. But what that then means is that your costs can dramatically increase. We saw it, during the cost of living crisis, where bills really kind of almost doubled at some stage, and they kind of stayed. I have a little tracker for the household bills like electricity and gas. They kind of doubled a couple of years ago. However, it went back down. However, it didn't go down to what it was before, the cost of that. And kind of now we just have to live with the extra costs. And that's what happens with inflation. So if there's high inflation, we're never going to go back to what it was before. Maybe sometimes like fuel, it go down a little bit and then you come up within a week. So I'm just kind of concerned if there is a burst of inflation this year, that means that we're stuck with that and income needs to increase at the same level. Personally, these are the things that I'm thinking, and I would like you to also think about. And then savings, I'd really love to have enough saved to cover, if bills double again, this winter, and to cover if anything else happens. We're going to talk about emergency funds later on, but for now, it's all about like your budget. So I'm sure you guys already know what a budget is, but just to remind you, it's essentially just a tool. It's a tool to plan financially. And we've talked about goals, the goals that I have. You now have in your mind the goals that you'd like to set or you have already set for the year. In order to achieve them, you need to sit down and understand how your finances are set up. And Now we know, okay, Arlyne wants to pay off £10,000 worth of debt by the end of the year. Okay, that's the goal. How are you going to do that? Well, I need to be able to see where I can save from some expenses. How are you going to do that? I need to sit down and look at my budget. Essentially, just the record of the expenses that I have, the income that's coming in, and go from there. So that's essentially what it is. It's not a restrictive tool. We always say a budget should be even something that you enjoy to do, because you should be excited to see how well you're achieving things, and you should be excited to see, like, okay, I'm being proactive about my life. I'm going to pay this off, pay that off, and then so look at it as an exciting thing. And I know accountant here talking about a budget and trying to make it sound as fun as possible. Okay, so how you could sit down and work out how to split your budget. And there are templates available for this. I'm going to put a link for the Roots to Fruits budget template that you could download as well, an Excel version. And we do have a book version as well that you can buy on the website. So I'll add that link too. So in terms of how you can split your budget, £3,000 per month. Okay, cool. Your take-home income, as in your income after tax. Great. You can split that into 50, 30, 20. And what that means is 50% are your fixed expenses. And what's included in your fixed expenses? You've got kind of anything that is fixed. So you essentially have to pay this amount every month. So that's your mortgage, that's your rent, your council tax. I added debt repayment in here because you have to pay a minimum payment for any kind of credit cards or loans, but you can kind of flex in terms of where this lands. But I like to leave it in the 50%. Also, you have your car expenses as well, gas and electricity, water, that sort of thing. So those are the serious adult expenses that you can put into your 50%. So you can work that out, especially if you kind of have a list of all your expenses and then kind of calculate, okay, what does that make out? So if you're earning £3,000, essentially you'd like to land at 1,500 is the fixed expenses. Okay, what next? So the rest of your kind of monthly expenses can go down as your variable expenses. So you've got your public transport or going out, your food, phone subscriptions to Netflix, to your Amazon, things like this. And I added pet costs as well, but some people might feel like actually pet costs should go into fixed. So kind of how your budget is set up. And then we've got fun extras as well. I mentioned before budgeting for the fun things. So you've got going out and sports as well. I always add gym memberships is always in my budget. No matter what, it has to be a priority for me because of my self-care needs. So this is where I'll place it. That leaves about 20% towards savings and investment. So this is how you could start off. But I know a lot of people kind of like to think of it in a different way. They might want to be more aggressive with the savings. So they might want to actually save 40% so that they need to reduce all the other expenses. Or if you live at home, or if you're in a house share, so it's a lot cheaper for you, then your 50% might be a lot lower. So this is just a guide for you. I hope that is clear. And I'm just going to quickly show you something that I was like, okay, I'm going to quickly, especially whilst I was panicking about all the tariffs that are happening, and I essentially recreated my budget template. Like personally, I was like, okay, I want something that shows like everything, that shows me where I'm at, and I want to see like kind of the progress of kind of how well I am paying off my debt and also saving too. So I created this, and it just makes me feel a lot better to just see everything together. So it's revamped the old budget template. But yeah, essentially this is what I'm going to be using going forward. And let me know if you would like a copy of this. Definitely happy to share. But I was just like, okay, let's go back to the drawing board. You can tell I really panicked when the markets were like tanking last week. So I was like, okay, what am I going to do? I'm going to go to Excel and I'm just going to restart everything. So you guys are getting an exclusive in terms of this Excel document that I just created. So if you'd like a copy of it, please let me know, and we'll make sure that you get something for it. It is never too early to start planning for your retirement. And that's where our sponsor, PensionBee, comes in. PensionBee are on a mission to build pension confidence and create a world where everyone can enjoy a happy retirement. Whether you've moved around jobs a lot and are looking to consolidate your pension into one easy to manage plan, or you're self-employed looking for a flexible pension plan which allows you to contribute as much or as little as you like depending on your income. It's easy to sign up, and you can do this via the link in the show notes. So, what are you waiting for? Take control of your retirement today, and remember, when investing, your capital is at risk. Debt. So we all know what happens when the economy, in terms of what the government or the Bank of England, what they will do, especially if things kind of go all over the place, especially when it comes to inflation. So interest rates is something that we need to be mindful of going forward. That's what they use to control the economy. So we might end up with kind of higher interest rates going forward because of what we've seen. I'm not trying to speculate here. It's not based on anything that I've heard, but that's something that I was just thinking like, okay, so our mortgage is going to go up in October. I'm aware of that, meaning that the fixed interest rates that we did have, they're going to go up. One, that's already a higher cost. And then there are other, debts that I just explained that I need to be mindful of, that we need to make sure that I pay those off, because if there's anything else going on and I need to use a credit card, interest rates are going up. Or if I need to borrow some money, interest rates are going to go up. So this is something to be mindful of. So I really want to make sure that I pay off the debt. And we had an amazing workshop at the end of last year by Rachel, Finances Fun with Rachel. She hosted kind of a workshop to talk through kind of the different ways that you can pay off your debt. So we have a more in-depth workshop that you can get access to. Again, you need to be a subscriber to Froots to get access to that portal. But yeah, so essentially, there are two strategies that you can go for. The avalanche method, I can never say that word, avalanche method, essentially where you pay off like the highest interest rates first. And then there's the snowball method, where you pay off the smallest, essentially cards or the smallest forms of debt that you have first, because that's just how you motivate yourself. I would list down all my debt to start off with before I even think about, okay, how am I going to pay them off? This is exactly what I did, by the way. I listed everything. I was like, okay, and what's the interest rates for everything as well? All right. Therefore, what's my priority to pay this off first? And naturally, I'm going to pay off the highest interest first. And I've already moved some debt into a 0% credit card already now. So thankfully, that means that I'm not paying extra for borrowing money. So in terms of like debt tracker, you could go ahead and write down like the different debts that you do have. If you're someone that loves Excel, great. If you're someone that is happy to just write it down on a piece of paper, don't worry about kind of the format of everything. As long as you're sitting down and you're doing it, that's the hardest part. So sit down, write down what it is. This isn't my actual debt, by the way. I just wrote down any kind of creditor, just as an example for you guys. So yeah, just write down where it is, what it is. And also I started to write down kind of the priority of which one I want to pay off first, based on different things. So one of them, I thought, okay, if I would like to have access to certain things like deals, then I want to make sure that I've paid that off first. And this was a fake one. But yeah, so if I was to do this again, I would pay off the highest interest rate first, and then the second highest, and then the last one. Or some people prefer to pay off the lowest kind of balance, because you just feel like, okay, now I have two left to go. Or there could be some terms in terms of paying off, certain debt quickly. So just kind of be mindful of that. But the first thing to do is just write down everything. And then you could also write down your long-term debt too in there, just to track it. And then it kind of acts as a nice kind of highlighting kind of what's my total debt right now. So I wanted to create something that just helped me out, and if it will help you out too, it's in the same Excel doc. Cool. So that's debt. I really hope that you're motivated to look at it. The next thing we're going to talk about is your emergency fund. So with everything that's going on, again, something that would help you, the tools that we were talking about, financial wellness, is building an emergency fund, building an amount that is in your bank account, or in a savings or investment portfolio even, but you've got this for a rainy day. I like to bring up this example. Now, it's kind of dated now because it happened in April last year, but it's still something that is at the top of my mind. So again, I'm sharing kind of my personal stories. Hopefully you can relate to it. But something that happened last year was that now I'm a business owner, I'm running the business, and where I'd saved a certain amount, but I saved it for expenses, I was like, okay, I need to make sure that I maximize everything that I've saved to just kind of help me through setting up the business properly whilst I'm now full-time in it. So the emergency fund that I had in my head, I thought, no, I'm also going to use this for my normal expenses later on, when the pot that I'd saved for the expenses was starting to run out. So what then happened in April last year is that the boiler in our flat, essentially we had a shared boiler outside, and that it just died, and other flat members didn't want to, or leaseholders, the flat people that live in our flat, they didn't want to pay for its repair. And that meant that we needed our own boiler in the house, and that was about £4,000. If you've ever bought a boiler and a tank as well, it's quite costly. So we really needed this emergency fund. And I'm sure there's things that you could kind of come up with. For example, vet bills that could be really high, or something that's happened to you, like a car breaking down and it's just not what you were expecting right now. But if you have an emergency fund, it will truly help out. And just thinking about what is to come, again, just having something in your savings just in case, the cost of living goes up again, I'm sure it will help kind of weather the storm. So what are we actually going to do? Remember, we discussed kind of jotting down your income, your total income. So let's say that you're at £3,000 a month. Amazing. Have that income, and then we want to save 3 months worth, just in case. If there are layoffs, at your workplace, or something happens and you need to be off work for a long period of time, I'm hoping you also have insurance and things like that. definitely get on insurance, like life insurance, health insurance. But make sure you save 3 months worth of your income, as well as, or up to 6 months worth of your income. Easy calculation. Whatever it is, £3,000 times by three, £9,000. Now, I'm not saying this is easy to do because we know where we are right now. However, some people might have got some bonuses, end of financial year, put that away, save it, or, some getting an extra job. So myself, I have decided to take on a few more contracts with larger companies that can pay a lot more, just to save up enough to have in my emergency fund. So I'm definitely practicing what I preach. It means that less time for sleep for sure. However, a lot more peace of mind. So please look into how you can save a bit more. And I know everyone's in different situations. I'm fortunate enough to have the time to be able to get a few more contracts. But I know some people have families, so it could be harder for them, or maybe the industry that they're in makes it harder. But you could look into also increasing your income through getting a promotion, start to step up at work, go for different roles maybe that might be paying more. We really need to be thinking out of the box and being really proactive. And I think this year is the year. I don't want to sound too kind of alarmist, but this year is the year to really think, what do I need to do to make sure all my finances are up to scratch? So yeah, we talked about how much to save for your emergency fund, and the next thing is putting that away in its own bank account. So a lot of people will say, okay, I've got loads of savings, but then actually that saving, that pot of money, it's for holidays, it's for this, it's for that, therefore it's always going down. But if you have different bank accounts where you can clearly label, maybe in your Excel document, and some bank accounts you can actually name the different pots. You could do that too, to just name that this is for my emergency fund and this is for my holiday, savings as well, or whatever it is that you're saving for. Have different bank accounts and shop around as well. Martin Lewis has really great resources on the Money Saving Expert, and if you're based in the UK, by the way, on Money Saving Expert website, where you can just kind of find the right interest rates for you. Or you could put it away in an ISA as well, because an emergency fund is something that you can build up over time. ISAs, it's hard to then take it out and also get the interest rates. So maybe that's not the best thing to say. But I'm just thinking if there's a way to maximize as well, like you get a good rate of return, just kind of think about that too. And lastly, it's investing in your future. Now, I am an accountant and a financial wellness coach, therefore not an investment advisor. So I'm not telling you what to invest in. However, right now, a lot of people are capitalizing on the stock market being down. And so it could be something that you can look into, do a little bit of research. On the From Roots to Fruits podcasts, you are on YouTube, therefore you can go into our profile and find the playlist From Roots to Fruits, where we had an senior analyst from Interactive Investor. He came on and I interviewed him about kind of the products that are available to invest through Interactive Investor, or you could invest through Vanguard, like for your stocks and shares, by the way. So listen to that podcast because he shares some really helpful hints and tips and things to be mindful of. And investing is for the long term. So this is something that you should be really thinking in 5 to 10 years, or your pension, essentially. This is what you're investing for. And I should also mention PensionBee are now supporting us. They're supporting the podcast as a sponsor. So I don't think we can have reactions on here. So I feel like Zoom is better because you can get the little hearts. But let's just whoop whoop individually that PensionBee are now supporting From Roots to Fruits. So yeah, they are sponsors. So I'm not advertising on this kind of workshop. However, do look into yay whoop whoop. Do look into basically. Sorry, I got distracted from the comments. Look into the PensionBee website. They've got amazing SIP products, as well as if you're a self-employed person, and also you could invest through them if you want a personal pension. And that's investing in stocks and shares. Real estate, property. We are going to have a property investor on the podcast to share how to start. They invested in Airbnb properties. I think they own two, and then the rest they're actually renting out, and then they rent out to Airbnb. And yeah, it sounds like they're doing really well, and I would like to learn from their experience. So you could invest in that too. Or it doesn't have to be Airbnb, because actually how ethical is like investing in Airbnb? It's driving up the rent prices. But you could buy properties to rent out, or you could just buy a property for yourself. And that was my motivation for buying this property, to just start putting money into equity for myself, rather than paying someone else's mortgage essentially through rent. So you can think about that. Something else you could invest in, which is something that I invested in, which is a business. So Roots to Fruits is an investment. It's taken a lot of money from me. And yeah, I essentially expect some returns in the future. I thought they would come a lot earlier, but I've since learned that business is a long game. And yeah, this is something that I should expect to kind of run for the next few years. Therefore, it's something that we already invested time and money, and then we'll reap the benefits in the future. There was a quote, I'm not sure who said it, but they kept on saying that it's a 10-year game when you start a business. A lot of people now expect returns within a year or two. As I said, I was expecting it by now. However, it's a long game thing. We're 5 years old right now, so in the next few years, we'll hopefully see the millions coming through. And there are other assets as well. So we've been looking into art, especially I'm Zimbabwean, so there are some Zimbabwean artists that are blowing up now. So you can look into getting some art, because now when the stock market starts to be really uncertain, then people look at other forms of investments like gold, minerals essentially, and yeah, art as well. So that's something that I've been thinking about kind of investing in. But please do your research across everything that I've just said, and you might have your own ideas in terms of what you want to invest in. And invest in yourself is the last one. So we often think that I should have started investing in the stock market when I was 15 years old. The £100 that I got from Nando's, working at Nando's, what did I do with it? But actually, you investing in yourself is the biggest thing. You're going to bring that return essentially, and you going to do a course in whatever it is. That's your investment. Or just self-care as well, like investing in you and your health as well, because we're all about financial wellness. So Roots to Fruits, it's really holistic. So I wanted to make sure that I highlight that for everybody. So that's the last point in terms of investment. And you're totally right, A the Poet. You are the most important investment you'll ever make. And then the last thing is educate yourself. So the last thing that I'm doing, and I implore you to do. So we hosted an amazing event at the Trampery in London, and it was called Empower Her. Roots to Fruits does support, men and women, but March was all about supporting women. And it was an amazing event where everyone left feeling, empowered, feeling like they've been enriched. Essentially, the networks that you can gain from going to networking events, and also the knowledge that we all gained, especially myself, from listening to the speakers that were on the stage. So you've done a great thing by dialing on to the call, but also looking to kind of going to things. I'm going to shamelessly plug our next event, and it's on the 15th of May. It's also going to be in London. It's going to be on an evening. It's strictly a workshop, essentially a lot of what we've talked about today, but we're sitting down and we're going through everything. So if you've got questions and you've got your actual budget, you've got your statements, you've got everything, and then we're talking it through, like-minded people in the room as well. So we all want to elevate ourselves. So I definitely, I gain quite a lot when I'm in the room with other people. So definitely look into it for yourself too. Invest in yourself. Education, go on a course, come to networking events, and stay tuned to Roots to Fruits. That is all for us today, guys. Join us next week for some more seeds to sow. And please remember to support us by following and leave a rating on our show on whichever platform you're listening to us from. To those watching on YouTube, please leave a like and a subscribe to our channel. All of your support goes a long way. Thank you so much for joining us today. And remember, keep shining.